Hi, Karishma. How are you?
I'm good too. I'm good too. So I'm just gonna dive right into it.
Do it. Take a deep dive.
Right. So, we're gonna peg the story around the book, and then list out essentially five challenges that you face in your career and how you essentially overcome them. So, to begin with, you could give us your own challenges, or I have a few questions prepared, whichever way you want to go about it. So what are some of the challenges that you feel that you faced in your career, to begin with, transitioning from beauty queen to a movie star? What was that like?
This whole book is about that, honestly. If you're asking me to break it down, let me just tell you, it took me 270 something pages to break it down. When it comes to my challenges, this book is predominantly about exactly that, about, it's sort of a dissection of my failures, my rejections, my sorrows, my struggles. And there have been, many, of course. I've just never been someone who's discussed a lot of my strife before. Obviously, I have with my friends and family, but like never publicly. So this book is sort of a reflection of all of that in a way.
And what was that one thing that kind of helped you overcome, that just that transitional phase, if you remember, from back then? Was there that one point or that one thing that kind of motivated you?
What motivates me every day? The desire to win and the desire to, be better than I was yesterday, and the desire to have a sense of purpose. And a sense of purpose is very important to me. And I wake up every morning looking for it.
And you've also have a career in music. So what about that transition? What was that like? Going into singing. While you're also acting, of course, that's another art form. But what was the most challenging part? Was there ever like a sense of doubt that was there? Always.
Always. A huge sense of doubt, especially when you're doing the anything for the first time, which has been predominantly my whole career. There's a lot of I've always done, I don't come from the film industry. I don't come from a family that was ever in entertainment. I didn't go to film school, so I didn't have any idea of the business of entertainment. I've learned everything on my own. I've taught everything to myself. Um, I've built my career on my back alone. And, so I think I've always had doubt. Every time I do something for the first time, I have a doubt. And I think the thing to remember is, are you going to be doubtful of yourself and take the chance of failing? Or are you going to put your right foot forward with confidence? Over time, I learned that, you can't define success or failure. You just have to make sure you put your best foot forward. And then the failure cannot be blamed on you because you've done so good individually, Sometimes, especially in the entertainment business, like a movie is not defined by one person. Many, many people contribute to making it. And everything, if you think about my job as a performance artist, is contributed to by multiple people. So if I focus on being excellent at my job, then I have delivered. And once I started doing that, it really took a lot of pressure off of me.
And any lessons that you learned in the music industry?
Yes, and I've addressed this in my book, and I would love for you to, when you read it, quote from that. But I don't want to give it away very much. But I have a really large chapter talking about what I learned from doing music.
All right,
You should
all
read
right.
it.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. That's why.
Okay, all right. And okay, so what about Hollywood? What was your first assignment like? Do you remember being on set the first time? And again, were you nervous? Were you scared? Because it wasn't home turf.
Yeah, and it was just 5 years ago when I shot for Quantico. My career in America is very small and very nascent right now. 5 years, out of which 3 years I was doing a show, So I'm just about building my career as an actor here. I am just about, I've just about done my first leading role in a feature. I've just about done my first dramatic role. So I've had the good fortune of having a really vivid and diverse career in India, and I've learned with the best filmmakers, done such a variety of roles, and I'm just about starting that in Hollywood. So I'm still nascent, and the first time when I started working here, of course, it was a very solitary journey for me. I moved to a new country without friends, without family, without knowing anyone. And it was a very difficult time in my life. And this is again a big chapter in my book about that very solitary journey that I made when I first started working here.
And did you, you left when you were doing really, really well and you went there. So did that ever kind of did that thought ever cross your mind? I had something really great happening, and I have, of course, taken a dive and, want to experiment and, move on to bigger and better things as well. So, but that nervousness wasn't there.
Of course, 100%. Because here I was doing 4 films a year with, amazing filmmakers, but also at a precipice in my life where I wanted to do different kinds of roles, and I wanted to grow, and I was craving growth, and I was kind of hitting a wall, in my work, but I was doing 4 movies a year, and for me to be able to do the TV show or the work in America, it would have been a big risk, and it was a big risk. My last movie was Bajirao and Jai Gangajal, which came out like 5 years ago or something, So it was a massive risk, and if it hadn't worked out, I would have had my tail tucked between my legs. But it's all right. It happens. If you don't take a risk, you don't grow. Thankfully, it worked out. I've had many opportunities where the door has been slammed on my face as well. You just have to sort of dust yourself and try another thing, But risk taking is a big part of evolution. You can't desire evolution without having the gumption to be able to take a risk.
And you mentioned that, you've of course also had failures. So what was that one thing that you maybe kind of told yourself to kind of enable and motivate yourself to get up and get going?
I knew at a very young age, actually, when I just about started in the entertainment business, that there's no one avenue, When I became Miss India and Miss World eventually, and film offers started coming to me, I remember talking to my parents about this, and my dad said, I don't want you to have a what if in your life. What if I had done this? What if I could have done this? He said, you got to try it, and if you're terrible at it, come back to college, do something else. Like, there was never any pressure on my shoulders about, if I fail, it's going to be the end of my life. I've never taken on that failure when it comes to myself professionally. I've always looked at giving a shot, giving it the best damn shot. And then if it doesn't work out, let's try something else. But I'm always willing to try, and I'm always willing to learn. And I learned that very early on, that the only way, especially in a business or a job like mine, which is, completely inconsistent. You don't know where your next check is coming from. You don't know what the next job you're doing, It's not like a 9 to 5 where that you're taken care of. I have to it's a constant hustle. And if you want to constantly hustle, then you have to be ready to hit the wall and have failure sometimes and get up again. It's what you do after failure that matters,
Right. And of course, the challenge of writing this particular book and, just putting your life out there, what's that experience been like? And, this is, of course, coming from your point of view. So you have that there, of course. But writing is, again, something new that you're venturing in.
First of all, there's so much that's been written about my life, so much speculation, so many books, so many opinion pieces, etc. that I think I reached a point in my life where I knew I wanted to write a book. I didn't know it was going to be a memoir. I've written, op-eds. I've written a lot of stuff like that, but I was scared of structural writing, like a book or a screenplay or a novel. But I always knew I wanted to dabble in writing. So when I decided that it should be a memoir because I thought it'll be easy, write about my life, I didn't realize that it would actually be one of the most difficult choices to make because, it really opens up old wounds when you're writing a memoir. You have to, and I obviously, now you've talked to me, Karishma, for a little while, you know that I'm someone who strives for excellence. If I'm doing something, I'm not going to do it halfway. So when I decided to do a memoir, it was quarantine and I just wrote everything. In fact, I've had to pull things out of the book because I was like, this is a lot. um, but I'm actually very surprised by how deep I've gone into this book and how many things I've sort of spoken about. One, because all this time I never really had the time to. I was always just running from pillow to post, trying to figure out what my next job was. But I think quarantine helped me with that. And also, I think as a woman, I'm in a lot more secure of a place. I find solid ground between, beneath my legs and my feet. And I find sort of confidence in my abilities to deliver my job. I think it's taken me 20 years to reach that place, but I finally got there. And, it just seemed like the right time to be able to tell my story and take charge of my own agency.
Right. And while, so it was just, it just kind of flowed. You didn't hit any writer's block. None of that happened.
No, I did many times. For 2 years, I tried to write the book and I couldn't. I just didn't remember things. I didn't remember what happened in my life. Again, I was always looking at the next thing that I never looked back. So I had to really reform my memories. I had to talk to people in my memories and, ask them, Acha ye hua tha, or like, this is how it happened. And then I wrote down my milestones from what I remember and sort of built around them. But it wasn't until like March, April of 2020 that, when I was at home and it was quarantine and I had sort of alone time that I could really put pen to paper and get into writing. So once I started doing it, I sort of treated it like a journal and it just, rushed out of me almost as if it was waiting to come out.
All right. And
sometimes I would write, sometimes I would have thoughts that were so fast that I'm a very slow typer. It's horrible. Like I can't type like clearly you're typing right now. But even with a pen, I can't write like, as fast as I was thinking. So then I started recording my thoughts and then transcribing them. But it just like really was a rush of things that I remembered and wanted to talk about.
So it was a journey that you kind of did go on yourself, like during the lockdown, during when the world was quarantined. What according to you was, for you yourself, that one point that you felt was like maybe a turning point as a person, like maybe mentally, maybe is there a point like that you
I've
kind
had
of
many of those.
yeah.
I mean, life is full of mountains and valleys, and I've definitely had my share of them. And I think you have to know that when you go up, you're going to go down, and when you go down, you're going to go up. There's no consistency in life, and that's something that happens to all of us. So there's hope either way. There's optimism in knowing if you're going down, I will come up. And then you also have to, it keeps you grounded to know when you're up that you are going to go down. So I think just sort of keeping a check on the bigger picture instead of getting caught up in the moment, I think, of whether that's sorrow or joy is very important.
So, yes, okay, to end with, I actually had a question prepared about, family life and, being married. But I just want to know, what's it like to move away from India? Like, was that also another thing that was kind of, a little scary for you?
Yeah, I mean, I still I don't I've not committed completely to not living in India. Don't get me wrong. My home is still, the way I see it, as I live between Mumbai and LA. Like I'm not ready to make that change yet or commit. First of all. Second of all, it's terrifying. Of course, it's terrifying. It's like, you know, I've been working in America now for 10 years, acting for just 5, but it's been 10 years that I didn't commit to living here. So, but now that I've, built my house and set up our home, it's I'm committing to it a lot more. I'm comfortable to knowing that, this is my closet and this is where my things are and this is my dog's house and this is their room. And I've been a nomad for a really large portion of my life. So it's nice to sort of put my feet down, but it's terrifying to do it in a completely new, environment.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for your
Well,
time.
thank you,
Lovely
Karishma. That was such a
speaking to
lovely
you.
conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.